Welcome to the Money is Emotional podcast with Christine Luken, the financial dignity coach. In this podcast, we help you recover a positive and peaceful relationship with your personal finances. We do this by bringing together wise money management with emotional intelligence. Join us for this journey where we navigate our relationship with money as Christine Luken draws from years of experience and guest experts to help you get to the root of your money issues.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Money is Emotional podcast. I am your host, Christine Luken. Today's episode is The Wealthy Woman Within. I'm sharing the surprising keys that women can use to unlock their financial power and take control of their money. As usual, my producer, Bill, is joining me. Bill, thanks for being brave enough to join me in this episode.
Oh, I always love hanging out with wealthy women. And especially you, as a matter of fact. How are you?
I am great. And I do appreciate that you are a champion of wealthy women. So let's start off with defining wealthy. What does it mean and why should women aspire to it? In basic terms, according to dictionary.com, wealthy means having a great deal of money, resources, or assets, aka rich. Now, that's not very specific, right? It doesn't say, oh, you're wealthy when your net worth is $1 million or
Right.
your income is a certain amount. So it is kind of a nebulous definition.
It is a vague definition, yes.
So I asked my connections on social media a couple weeks ago what wealthy means to them. And they really expanded the definition beyond money to include abundance in other areas. So abundance in their health, in their relationships, in fulfillment and purpose.
I like that.
And so I do really think that it is both. I think to me, wealthy means that you have an abundance of money that supports your happiness and you have an overflow so that you can bless other people with.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I like that.
And so this definition is really going to vary from person to person, and it might change as you continue on in life. When you were younger, you might have said, hey, I'm going to feel wealthy if I have enough money to pay the bills and I can go on vacation whenever I want to. And whatever that number is for you, that's going to be very different from once you're married and you have kids. Then it's like, okay, well, I want more than just paying the bills and going on vacation. I want that to mean I'm fully funding my retirement. I'm paying extra on my mortgage. I've got savings so that if I have to, I've got a surgery and I have to be off work, that I know I'm going to be okay. And I think there's really a couple parts to that. It's like the minimal definition of wealth is I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
But then there's a little bit more to that, right? Like I'm going to be okay. I don't have to worry about where my next meal is coming from, how my bills are going to be paid. But there's also overflow so that I can have enjoyment and I can have pleasure in life. And for many people, that also includes having enough overflow to bless other people.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you don't include a number in that definition, because I agree with your social media connections. Wealth is a whole lot more than a number, and that number does change from when you're 25 to when you're 45 to when you're 65. It's a different number at different stages of your life.
Right. And depending on the things that you want, that's going to be a different number.
True.
Well, I mean, I might have a friend whose goal in life is to live in a cabin in the woods and feed the squirrels and live off the grid. That's a totally different dollar
Different kind of
amount,
number involved there. Yeah.
right? Somebody else
Yeah.
might say, my definition of wealthy is living in an awesome house with a swimming pool that's close to the ocean or on the golf course. Like, that's a totally different number.
Yep. Agreed.
So wealth isn't just a number, it's a feeling. And there's a quote that goes like this, and it really leads into that second half of the question of why should women aspire to be wealthy?
Okay.
The quote says, women with money have louder voices and more choices. So what does that mean? When you have money, you can vote with your dollars. So you and I were just talking before we got started here about colognes and perfumes of all things.
Right.
And I mentioned to you that my favorite perfume is made by Henry Rose. It's called Queens and
Right.
Monsters. And the reason why I love it is because it is a very clean perfume. So there's no synthetic chemicals. It's been approved by the EWG, the Environmental Working Group. There's no animal testing. It's not cheap. It's not cheap.
Right.
If I was struggling financially, I probably couldn't afford to buy that perfume, even if I really wanted it. I would probably have to just go to the drugstore and make do with something that cost $15 or $20 instead of far north of $100.
Yep.
And so when women are wealthy, we can support companies who are doing good things in the world. We can buy clothing from companies that have ethical work practices and who are buying from suppliers who treat their employees well and pay them a fair wage. So if you kind of go down into the rabbit hole of some of these different industries, you can see that, you know, if you're buying the cheapest clothing at Walmart or some of these online sites, I'm not gonna spear anybody's favorite online discount clothing store website because I don't want to get the hate mail. But if you do some of this research, the reason why you can get a $5 crop top is probably because they are paying workers almost nothing.
Correct.
That's why you're getting it so cheap, right?
Yep.
There's that saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch. As you become more financially prosperous, you can vote with your dollars and you can buy from companies who are environmentally responsible, who are socially responsible, who aren't dumping chemicals into products. So there is that benefit.
Yeah. Choice is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yes. So the other piece in there, when I mean that women have choices, is that they can walk away from unfavorable or dangerous situations. And I want to say it was maybe back in episode 19, we'll link it up, but you know, women in abusive relationships cite lack of money as one of the primary reasons why they don't leave.
There's a brutal reality for you. Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, we had my former client and good friend, Allison Dagny, as a guest, and she talked about in that episode of Overcoming Financial Abuse that, you know, when she was preparing to leave her marriage and file for divorce because she had been mentally and emotionally and financially abused and controlled for almost 2 decades, she had to wait, I want to say it was almost a year, because she basically had to sneak like $10 and $20 at a time, going to the grocery store and getting like an extra $20 cash back and squirreling away that money just to get the payment to retain her divorce attorney.
Holy cow. That's episode 19, you think?
I'm pretty sure it's 19.
Well,
We
we will double check, and that will be in the show notes. That sounds like a great story and a compelling listen, and goes right to your point about choice and freedom.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. Her husband, or ex-husband, still works for a major financial firm. He's an executive at a major financial services firm. They had money. They lived what, from the outsider looking in, looked like a very cushy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And yet, because he restricted her access, she was basically prisoner in, this was like a posh prison, but it was still a prison. She couldn't leave because he had convinced her very early in the marriage to stay home with the children. And once the kids were in school, he did not want her out in the workplace. So, he found other things for her to do and to contribute, but he did not want her having an outside job and making her own money.
Wow, that's a whole nother episode. Holy cow.
Yes.
I'm not commenting any further than that, but that ain't healthy, okay?
Right, exactly. So it is important that women take an active role in the finances, even if they're not the primary earner, and that they should be taking an interest in what's going on, whether or not they have to or not. And we've quoted this statistic before in the Girl Math episode, where we talked about how 80% of women will be 100% responsible for their finances for at least some period of time in their life, whether by choice or by chance. So this is why, women, we should aspire to be wealthy. Because when money supports your happiness, it doesn't stress you out.
Yeah, you know that firsthand. I happen to know because I have listened to prior episodes and I know your story about becoming a wealthy woman yourself.
Right, exactly. And that's one thing I want to tell people. Like, it's not like I was just born this wealthy person. I had to go through my own journey myself. And if you listen to episode 1, which you obviously have, you know that my financial journey had a rocky start. And it was because I was in an unhealthy relationship. Now, it wasn't because my ex was making a bunch of money and trying to control me.
Yeah.
He was basically the opposite. He was a leech. Yes.
The other side of the story.
Yeah. So, I spent those 7 years in that relationship in financial chaos and crisis when I was in my 20s. When I finally left my ex-fiance, I entered into this, it was probably about a 3-year period of what I call rebuilding my foundation. And many women who have experienced something like this, like a divorce, there is this period where you have to get immersed in learning about your finances and paying very close attention to what's going on, putting that focus onto what needs to be fixed, what needs to be improved.
Yeah.
So it did take me some time to get to that place where I finally felt like I could relax and that I didn't have to pinch every penny, because I had finally gotten myself out of debt. I had rebuilt my savings and gotten that good, solid foundation rebuilt.
Okay.
And then when Nick and I got married, we entered this long period. Nick and I have been married. It'll actually be 21 years in the fall.
Nice. Congratulations. Congratulations on remembering and, in fact, being married and staying together.
So, for almost 2 decades, we had this period of, like financial stability where We had a very good system set up. We would monitor the system. It didn't take a lot of time, effort, and energy.
Yeah.
We were achieving goals. We had these good habits in place of maxing out our retirement accounts, of paying extra on the mortgage every month. And it was almost like this nice, steady financial routine. Now, we didn't get to do everything that we wanted to do, but we did get to do some really awesome things. We went to Hawaii twice. We got to do some really fun and amazing things, but it was almost like we were working at it. We were working at these financial goals.
But it wasn't all labor all the time, no fun, discipline, focus,
exactly.
No parties.
Yes, exactly. But it wasn't like Party Central 24/7.
Well, but that's a whole different, that only exists on TV, I'm convinced.
Yes. Yeah. So about 4 years ago, we crossed millionaire status.
Yay.
But things did not exactly unfold the way I expected them to. Usually once a quarter, I would go through and update our net worth.
Yeah.
And that particular year, so this was like at the very end of 2019, beginning of 2020. It was probably January of 2020.
Okay.
Actually, 2019 was the worst year I'd ever had in my business.
Whoa.
Which is strange because it was the 7th year in my business. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that we're not going to go into. But I was kind of feeling like shit about my business because I had made almost nothing in my business. And, I just wasn't really feeling good about my finances. And I had actually skipped updating the net worth sheet in September. So imagine my surprise at the beginning of January when I updated all of our numbers and the number at the bottom exceeded $1 million.
Oh.
So I thought that when this happened, that balloons were supposed to come down from the ceiling and we were supposed to have champagne toasts at some, bar on top of a high rise or maybe beachside. Or I don't know, maybe I thought that I was going to get an invitation that would be delivered to me by a falcon or something.
Well,
Harry Potter style.
You have entered the wealthy woman sphere.
But guess what happened?
What?
Nothing. Literally nothing happened other than that number had changed and now there was another decimal point. I didn't even know who I could tell other than my husband.
Other than Nick, of course. Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's great.
And Nick was like, oh yeah, okay. Typical engineering response. He's like, well, there's a big chunk of it in our retirement and it's not like we're going to spend that anytime soon. And, he was kind of just brushing it aside. I think I told my dad and he was like, oh, great job. I'm so proud of you. But it was not what I expected. Right. And it wasn't like I had a community of people or women or even friends. I mean, I think I might have told one of my friends. But other than that, it was just like, But then I just wondered this recently. If I was a man, would I have posted that on social media? Like, probably, I'm a millionaire.
No,
would I have bragged to my friends? Would I have taken them out to the bar and at least bought them a round of drinks? Because now my net worth was $1 million. I don't know. Maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't have. But I do feel like there's this, who can I talk to about this? Would people think I was bragging? Would people think I was full of myself? Would people say oh, you shouldn't say that because you're going to make other people who haven't done that feel bad?
Feel bad.
Yeah. I don't know.
Um,
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. Probably people who hadn't crossed that line would feel a little envious. You might make some people feel bad. And because there are always these people who always sit around and go, oh, she's just bragging.
This is true. There are people who are always like that. But I think the point is, I didn't have anybody that I could talk to
Yeah.
about that, and I didn't have anywhere to go to celebrate that fact, that milestone, which
Right.
really should be an important milestone. So I wanted to talk about some keys to how we can become wealthy women. And I think the first one is to claim the power of your emotions. As women, we've been told that our emotions are a liability, especially when it comes to money. I've literally heard financial planners tell clients, just make the logical decision and leave your emotions out of it, which we know because of episode 2 that that is physically impossible. So we won't go into the brain science. If you want to know that, you can go back and listen to episode 2. But when a financial professional tells somebody that, they're basically shaming them for something that's natural, entirely natural. So here's the problem with emotions is we haven't been taught how to harness their power, and we haven't been taught how to properly manage them. No one has. Honestly, no one has in our society. I mean, I don't know about you. When I went through grade school or high school, they did not teach a class on emotional intelligence.
Oh no, no. Look, I'm a guy, clearly, and it's like guys don't get any instruction in emotional intelligence whatsoever.
You're like, emotions? I don't have
attest
emotions.
to that, boy. So can anybody who knows me.
Well, I do think, especially for the younger generations, that the tide is turning, and I think that that is great. That is amazing. However, it's important for us to, especially as women, to start paying attention to the emotions that we feel around our money, because then we can start to pinpoint the things that might be triggering unhelpful emotions. But we can also use the superpower of our emotions to achieve our goals with money. So, how do we do that? We can actually charge our goals with emotion. So, for example, let's just say you want to get out of credit card debt because it's something that you, quote, should do. Like, I should get out of credit card debt. I hear this all the time from people, especially around the first part of the year, where I'll say, like, what are your New Year's resolutions about money? And they're like, well, I know I should probably get out of credit card debt. I'm sorry, but that is not motivating at all.
No,
That's just not.
It feels
like,
really kind of bleh, if you want to know the truth.
Right, exactly. However, if we reframe it and say, I can't wait to get out of credit card debt because as soon as I do, I'm saving money to go to Italy next year.
Nice. Different story there. It's like a whole different story there. Yes.
Right. So when you have this exciting why, not I should want to do this, but you've got something that you're truly excited about, like going to Italy or going to Hawaii or starting a business, whatever the case may be, then we're harnessing those positive emotions. And the cool thing is we can also look at the flip side and use negative emotions as well. So we can say, if I don't pay off my credit card debt so that I can go to Italy, I guess my best vacation is going to be going to visit my aunt near Myrtle Beach and stay in her 2-bedroom apartment.
I'm so, you know, I like inspiration, okay? But that's not inspiring, all right? It's just not.
It's not. But sometimes having that contrast is good because every time you have the choice to pay extra on the credit card, you're like, Aunt Edna's apartment or Italy? Oh, you know what? I'm not just going to pay 200 extra. I'm going to pay 400 extra because I want to go to Italy.
Yeah.
So we can use our emotions in our favor if we know how to do that. So using those emotions is something that we can do. And I feel like women are definitely more plugged in and sensitive to their emotions. Now, you might be thinking about, okay, well, what about some of these negative emotions that can derail my financial goals, like emotional spending? There's a very quick trick that we can do, and that really is to tune in to what I call your emotional volume. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how loud is your emotional volume right now? When you're getting ready to spend money, now this could be your emotions are super positive because you want to buy something, or it could be you're upset, you're depressed, you're lonely, whatever. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your emotional volume? I do not recommend interacting with your money if your emotional volume, either positive or negative, is above a 5. Because it can cause you to not be able to hear the voice of reason. You want to be able to consult both your emotions and your logic.
So you want to keep a balance in there. That's understandable, actually. That's especially since I'm a guy. That's
well, you know, you guys can
always like irrationality always is somewhere around 6, 7, 8 or something like that.
I don't know. I have seen some guys get really emotional about a brand new Ford F-150. So
well, those are cars, man, and trucks. Come on.
I know. You got to know your triggers. So the second key I want to talk about to becoming a wealthy woman is to embrace the discomfort.
Dare to enter the Wealthy Woman Book Club, where answers exist to forbidden questions, where women of all ages and income secretly gather, where knowledge is shared, where possibilities are explored, where women claim their power. Dare to stay a spell in the Wealthy Woman Book Club. In this place, we lift each other up. In this place, we start dreaming again. In this place, we see financial miracles. In this place, we grow through the glory and the failure. In this place, we step into a new identity. Dare to champion the Wealthy Woman Book Club. We're creating a future where women are financially empowered across the globe. We're creating a future where our daughters stand on equal financial footing with our sons. We're creating a future where we purchase with our principles rather than price tags. We're creating a future where we use the power of money for the benefit of people and the planet. Welcome to the Wealthy Woman Book Club. Dare to come in, woman. Come in. Join us at wealthywomanbookclub.com.
We have heard that the magic happens outside of your comfort zone. If you want to become a wealthy woman, you are going to have to do and experience situations that you have never experienced before. And that's normal. Well, so if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you don't have any money to invest, then you don't have to worry about investing. You
Oh,
don't have to learn about investing. You don't have to talk to scary financial planners. You don't have to worry about the stock market because you're just living paycheck to paycheck and you're not investing any money.
mm,
Once you break out of that cycle of living paycheck to paycheck and you start saving money and you're in a situation where you can invest, even though investing for your future is a good thing, you've never done it before.
hmm
You don't know the difference between a 401k, a 403b, a 357,000 ABCD, Roth
yeah,
IRA, right?
right.
All of a sudden, all this scary jargon comes in, and then you've got to talk to these people, financial planners who know all this stuff, and you've heard horror stories about your grandmother who got ripped off by somebody because they sold her some insurance policy. And right, there's all of this scary
Oh, yeah.
unknown stuff that happens. Then all of a sudden you have to deal with more complicated tax issues, or you have to start doing things like estate planning. Those things can seem scary if we've never done them before
Yeah.
and we don't know anything about them.
Well, you know what you're talking about change.
Yes.
And people, I have learned this throughout my years of work in life. Change, even really good change, even very positive change, is really disruptive. It's hard
Yes.
for us. It is
Yes.
hard for us to deal with change.
Right. And it naturally can bring up fear. Fear warns us that we're leaving our comfort zones, but that's actually a good thing. We can't expect progress in our finances without entering into new situations and encountering something new and different. So there's that quote about insanity.
Yeah,
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
different result. Yeah.
We're not going to get a different result until we start doing some different things. And that means doing something you've never done before, learning something that you've never learned before. One thing I always ask people is, who told you where your boundary of safety is located? And a
Hmm.
lot of times it was handed down to us from our parents. Like,
Yeah.
people like us don't do X, Y, and Z,
Oh, yeah.
right? Or people like us don't do this, or only rich people do that. That's not us, right? This is where the boundary is. It's safe for us to
hmm
do this, but we don't do that because that's not what we do.
Yeah, yeah. No.
So big increases in income and wealth, even though they're great, they can shove us outside of our comfort zones.
Exactly.
And if we're not prepared, we can self-sabotage. So one of the things that I suggest that people do is proactively push themselves outside of their comfort zones. Whether it's learning something completely different, whether it is going somewhere that you think only rich people go to. You can do some fun little experiments like dress up all fancy, go to one of the fanciest hotels and just have a drink at the bar or
Hmm.
order a coffee and sit in the lobby. You can go to one of the fanciest department stores. You can try on $1,000 shirt, take a selfie, and then put it back on the hanger. What does that cost you? $0.
Right.
But what it's doing is it's putting you around things that might make you a little uncomfortable.
hmm hmm
And that's okay. That's actually a good thing because what it does is it starts to desensitize you to those things.
To embrace the discomfort and make friends with
Yes.
your fear, if you will.
Exactly. So I recently read a book that one of my friends recommended. It's called The Tools, and I can't believe I had never heard of it before because it's almost 10 years old. So it's called The Tools: Transform Your Problems into Courage, Confidence, and Creativity by Phil Stultz and Barry Michaels. But the tool for courage, it was all about embracing the fear. So
Mm.
whenever you have a situation that might make you a little fearful, so let's say it's starting your own business. You know you've wanted to start your own business. It's kind of scary because you got to file legal paperwork. There's going to be some tax ramifications. Like you're going to have to start doing accounting. That might feel scary. Well, it's all about befriending your fear. And one of the first things they say is to literally say out loud, let's do this. Right? So you're like planning the steak. And then they say, you're supposed to say out loud, I love fear. Right? So you recognize this, like, I want to start a business, but I'm afraid. Let's do this. I love fear. And the final thing you say is, fear gets me everything I want.
I can see that because I know that in my own life, there have been moments where I faced a choice, and one of those choices created a great deal of fear in me. And I was very fortunate that I had people who said, just do it. And I did. And you know what? It worked out. It worked out really well, as a matter of fact.
Right. Well, and we're not talking about fear of heights or fear of angry wild animals.
No, I'm not talking about.
Right.
I have a fear of roller coasters. I've done roller coasters because they were, I thought, okay, I should, but no. I'm talking about more profound fear, like career fear. I'm talking about the kind of things where you think I can't do that, and people are like, yes, you can. You can do that. You just need to take the step off the cliff, as it were, and do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Same thing with spiders. I am not going to run towards spiders because there's nothing on the other side of spiders that I want. But there might be something on the other side of striking up a conversation with some women at the country club that I'm intimidated by.
Bingo.
That actually might have some benefits for me. So
exactly.
So the third key we're going to talk about here to becoming a wealthy woman is increasing your money confidence. Women, we all have the capacity for wise money management. Now, it might come easier for some of us than others. You might have said, I'm not great at math, so money's just hard for me. We all have the capacity to do this. The great thing is, we have so much power in the palm of our hand with our smartphones to do the part that you might feel is hard. To crunch the numbers, to keep track of things. There are so many great financial calculators. There are dozens of personal finance apps, investing apps that help you keep track of those things. So if you are of sound mind, you do not have had to have gotten an A in algebra to be good at money management, right? You don't have to be good at math, I promise. So we all have the capacity to do this. Now, whether or not we have competency or not depends on two things: our knowledge and practice. So those are the things where if you feel like I'm not great at this, then we have to assess, what things do I need to learn to do better? Growing up, I did not have a personal finance class in middle school or high school or college. Thankfully, my father taught me a lot, although as a teenager and in my early 20s, I completely ignored everything he told me. So just because you have the head knowledge doesn't mean you're going to apply it. But there may certainly be some things that you need to know.
Yeah.
I'm one of those nerds that's always reading money books. And I know not everybody is like that. However, there are so many great free ways to learn, like this podcast, YouTube. There's a ton of blog posts. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can get the financial knowledge that you need.
Yeah. Let me just make an editorial comment here. One, I think that schools ought to teach financial literacy. That's number one. But number two, you are so right. The resources, either through technology or through various forms of media that you have now to teach yourself and to learn, is astounding. It's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. And practicing, right? So once you learn, you actually have to do those things. So when you first start doing them, it's going to feel awkward because you haven't done it. When we learn any other skill, like water skiing, you don't expect it to feel natural when you first start.
Right.
If you have been ignoring your money, it's going to feel awkward when you first start doing it. That's just because you need to get practice under your belt. Now, the other thing that comes into play for building our confidence, especially for women, is supportive community. I find that women are much braver and stronger together. When we know that someone else is cheering us on and has our back, it makes it much easier for us to do things like ask for the raise, start the business, go out in search of new clients, whatever the case may be. 4 years ago, I didn't have that community of women. When I had my millionaire moment, I didn't have anybody to celebrate with that with. I do now, which is awesome. So, why don't we get into community more? Well, I think as women, we have been conditioned to fear money, to think it's too complicated. And I also think in some respects, we've been conditioned to distrust other women, right? There's the myth of the catty woman, etc. And then when we see other women who are wealthy, we feel intimidated by them. It feels easier to attack them than to befriend them.
Right.
Or to feel envious of them. So I want to read a little something. It's a poem. It's a short one. But you didn't know I wrote poems.
I did not. But you're a woman of many talents, so I'm not surprised.
I just restarted writing poetry after 30 years. And it started with this one that I'm going to read you right now. It is called, "Do Not Envy the Wealthy Woman." We mistakenly think that other women possessing wealth take something away from us. It doesn't. There is no need to envy the wealthy woman. It's like being envious of someone swimming deep in the ocean while you stand on the shore and cry, "It's not fair." The ocean embraces all who know how to swim. There is no shortage of water. There is no shortage of wealth. Come in, woman. Come in.
Yes. Nice point. Yes, it's true. And it has always puzzled me. And you touched on a universal truth, which I'm sure you get into quite often, is, it's not as if you can't be a member of the wealthy community. It's that you've chosen not to be a member of the wealthy community. Just take that step and commit to it, and you'll be amazed at the wonderful things that can happen for you.
Absolutely. If you want a supportive community of women who are growing and learning together on this journey, I would love for you to join us in the Wealthy Woman Book Club. We're getting out of our comfort zones, we're building our confidence, and we are reminding each other of our greatness. You don't have to be a millionaire to join. There is no requirements for income or net worth. What is required is that you want to start this journey and you want a community of supportive women to be with you on this journey of learning and growing together. That's really what it's all about.
Make the choice.
Yes.
Things can happen when you make choices, especially when you make choices that you're uncomfortable with in terms of taking you forward, like you were just talking about during this podcast. It may seem uncomfortable for some women initially, but until you make that choice and you learn to get past that discomfort, well, amazing things can happen with a choice.
And I have made the price of the Wealthy Woman Book Club extremely accessible. So click on the link and check it out. Currently, as we're recording this, it's only $44 a month or $444 for the year. Very doable. So it's a small investment to get you started on this wealth journey.
That's excellent. And I just want to add my own testimony, having worked with you now for quite a few months and quite a few episodes. You are worthy of the trust. You are worthy of the $44 or the $44.50 or whatever that cost is. You are worthy of it because there are few people I find as insightful or I trust as much as you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That means a lot to me.
Well, you earned it. You didn't just go out there and, you earned it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And of course, if you want one-on-one attention, maybe you like the idea of the book club, but you feel like you need a lot more hand-holding and you want to work with me one-on-one, you can apply for financial dignity coaching with me on my website, christineluken.com/apply. And I would love to chat with you about that.
That would be fantastic. You know what else you could do if you're listening to this episode or this podcast for the first time? You could hit follow. You could become a subscriber. That way, every time Christine drops a new episode of her podcast, you'll be notified. Don't even have to think about it. You can listen right away. If you like the podcast, I would also personally encourage you to tell people about it. Share it with other people. We welcome word of mouth promotion. It is very much appreciated. On behalf of Christine, I'm Bill Tucker. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen today. And I want you to please remember this. You can go out today and make today a great day. You can step off into the Wealthy Woman Book Club or not. It's a choice. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money is Emotional podcast. To get in touch, visit our website at www.christineluken.com or drop us a line at hello@christineluken.com. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Christine Luken. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing or tax advice. Always seek the advice of your advisor, tax professional, or other qualified financial professional with any questions you may have regarding your personal finances.